It's Friday, May the 8th. It's 7 PM. Welcome to iMagician Live.
Welcome everybody to iMagician Live Show 6. I'm Jamie Allan. Thank you so much for joining us again on this VE Day, and as always I'm joined by my friends. We have Mr. Tommy Bond. Hello Tommy.
Hi Jamie, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. You're looking so smart today. Thanks for making the effort. I'm sorry I didn't get the memo. And hi Adam. We've got Adam Heppenstall in the house. Hello Adam.
Hello guys, good evening, how are you both? Alright?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. A quick throwback to episode 1 there with my in the house. I'm thinking with my white jacket. Maybe I'm working on
a bit
my
cool, mate,
factor.
bit cool.
Just a bit. And also here we have Natalie. Hi Nat.
Hello world.
Hello world. Nat's going to be fielding all the comments live for the show, so she'll be replying to you and passing messages to me, so we shall try and get back to you live. How are you guys doing? How's your week been? Anybody anything to tell me?
Well, I've got to admit, it's the first time I've decided that I shouldn't have taken a gap year this year, but, you know, that's just the way it works, really.
Yeah. What about you, Adam? I see your DIY projects. Your door on the garage looks awesome. I know that we're going to take a few
mate, yeah.
Talking about this
DIY?
stuff.
Yeah, no, lots of DIY, lots of tools, lots of playing around, very good. I just spent about 16 hours at Waitrose queuing, so that was fun.
Yeah,
but I've watched all my shopping now, so it's all good. It's all good.
Can I say, we in this household, we've been the only people that have not been able to get eggs, have we, Nat? For
Oh no, we had that problem as well.
Yeah, 3 weeks without eggs. But this morning we went on a run round all the shops and we finally managed to purchase some. So
Yay.
Smashing.
very, very happy. Yeah. Lovely pun. Anyway, guys, what have we got coming up on the show this week? Tommy, what do we have coming up?
Oh, we've got the bad trick of the week with Adam, and we've got a wonderful, wonderful trick with the incredible Mr. Pete Matthews.
Oh, fantastic. We love Pete. And of course, this bad trick thing, I'm a bit worried, Adam, that some of these bad tricks are starting to get quite good. Is the bad trick this week going to be a good one or a bad one?
No, it's pretty bad this week. Next week, though, I've got something pretty cool, so yeah, keep watching.
Okay. Adam, what do we have coming up on the show?
Well, we've got this week's news of the week, where we're looking into how magicians are getting on with their Botox during lockdown. Plus, we've got an interview with the legendary comedian, Mr. John Archer.
John Archer will be joining us. And also, Nat, what do we have coming up?
We have the wonderful, the fantastic, the genius X from BGT, which of course we now know is Mr. Mark Spellman.
Yeah, that is going to be awesome. Mark has got such an interesting story to tell. He'll be coming up on the show later, and he's going to be telling us all about what it was like to use that mask. That's certainly the direction I'm hoping this will go in anyway. I was talking to him on the phone yesterday. It's going to be a fascinating story. I was trying not to get too many of the highlights so I can be entertained with you guys. But anyway, also coming up on the show, last week we mentioned that we were in VANISH magazine. If you haven't seen it, please look down on the links below on our Facebook page and you'll find the link to it. We had a lovely article in VANISH magazine, and the editor, CEO, owner, whatever you want to call him, the big boss of bosses, Mr. Paul ROMHANY, is on the show today. And Paul produces this magazine. It's the biggest subscribership magazine on the planet for magic, and he has got a tremendous insight into the world of magic, and we're going to welcome him to iMagician Live right now. Please say hello to Mr. Paul ROMHANY. Hi, Paul.
Hey, Jamie, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's early there.
Well, it's not too bad. It's like, what I know what time is. Well, your show starts at 11 o'clock here, so...
Yeah, but you have
in the afternoon.
But you have a family, don't you? So you don't do the showbiz early thing. I mean, you're probably up at a reasonable hour anyway.
I'm up very early. This morning I was up at 5 working on some things, actually VANISH. And my son's up about 7, and then now my wife and son have gone for a bike ride. So
oh yeah, well, we're going to be
quiet.
talking a lot about Vanish in a moment, because I know that
Okay.
that's all consuming for you. But you know, you're known for so much in the magic industry, and I would say it's fair. Like you've won a lot of awards in your time. You know, you've been very well decorated. You've performed a lot for magicians. You've created a lot of product for magicians and advice for magicians. But through all of that, you seem to be known primarily for Vanish magazine, which we'll talk about, and of course this incredible Chaplin act, which I'd like to touch on, and we're going to actually roll some footage, Paul, but maybe you could talk a little bit about the Chaplin act.
Sure. You know, I started performing Charlie Chaplin when I was a young kid, about 8 years old. That's when I really first got hooked in a movie called The Circus, and then I watched The Gold Rush, and ever since then I've been fascinated with Charlie Chaplin. And when I was about 18 or 19, Marvin Roy, Mr. Electric, came to New Zealand and gave a lecture, probably the best lecture I've ever seen. And I might have been the only person in the room who really took his lecture and did something with it. He didn't teach one magic trick, but he showed you how to theme an act. And he just said, find two things, you know, find something that you're really passionate about, and then go with that. And in his lecture, he gave an example of a cookie. So while I liked cookies, I liked Charlie Chaplin more. And then so Chaplin was my hook, and so I had a hook. And then pretty much from then on, from what is I'm 52, so I've been doing that act now for 30 years.
Oh, but it's a fantastic act, and as you can
Thank
see
you.
at home, we're running some of the clips of it right now, and I encourage you to go online and look up some of Paul's work, because it really is great. And Paul touched on something really important here, which is creating a character and identity. You know, all of the greatest magicians in the world, they have something that ties to them, either their look or their style or what they do, and Paul is a prime example of this, how one idea can take you all over the planet. We want to talk about Vanish magazine a little bit, because this is huge, and you came up with something which was disruptive in an industry that was very crowded. I mean, when you entered and decided to start a magazine, I'm sure you had friends that said you're crazy, it's not going to work, and yet somehow you've managed to build it into, I think it's the biggest now, isn't it? Certainly in terms of readership.
Yeah, and there's reasons why it is. It's free, so but also at the time it was interesting because other magazines were going through Apple, and they wouldn't let you have the subscription emails of people who subscribed, and I didn't want that, so I chose a different route, and I waited until there was a platform. In fact, there's 3 platforms that Vanish is on, but a platform where I could get the subscribers. So in my mail list, I think I haven't looked lately, it was 85,000 that I have on my mail list, but I know that it goes out to at least 100,000 readers.
100,000, Paul. I mean, that is. I mean, do you even any longer see what a huge number that is for something that's?
No, I don't even. To be honest, it's over. Yeah, no, not really, not anymore. I don't even look at the numbers anymore. I got sick of it. I'm not a number person. I used to be when it started out, but then I just gave up. Some of the issues are over 300,000-400,000 downloads. Way beyond that.
That's it's absolutely mind blowing. You know, like you've created something that has just eclipsed everything else. And also, I mean, you do that because the content is genuinely great. The layout is great. It's pacey. It's an easy read, but it's a fun read. It's everything that a magic magazine should be. You hit the balance just perfectly.
At the end of the day, I tell everybody it's done. I do it for myself because it's current. There's not really a magic magazine out there that can be as current as this. It's funny. It started off as every 2 months. And over time, it's growing. I had one here. So in the old days, it used to be this thick,
Hang on, stop the press, Paul. Is that an actual copy of an online magazine you're holding?
Yeah, it is. They are printed. They are available as printed copies too. So, but this is one of the older ones, and look how thick that is. And so over time, I realised that no, I need to bring it down. So now you've got it at less than 100 pages, and it's so yeah, it's printed as well. It's on-demand printing. You know, people, especially people on the cover. We did this as not the last one, the one before. This isn't the one that you guys are in, but this is it's beautiful quality magazine. It's just and I do all the layout and everything myself. I have obviously
it's fantastic,
wonderful contributors. So,
but you know when you see something like that and you say, oh, the magazine was too thick to start off with, it's the same as this show. You know, we come out every week trying to think we'll make a 30-minute show, and it never seems to. We seem to be happy if we can get it less than an hour at this point. So maybe we should do 2 shows a week. I don't know. Maybe we should follow your lead.
Well, it was coming out every 6 months, but now I do it monthly. And I just think it's everyone's commented to say it's much better now that it's shorter I'm more choosy about the articles. You know, obviously, and the nice thing is that it's current. Like the latest edition was all about what you guys are doing, but what people are doing online. So I'm not because it's on-demand printing. I don't have to go 2 months ahead, because otherwise it's just by the time you get a printed magazine, it's old news. It's gone. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. You were telling me yesterday that you also publish one that has just all the tricks in it.
Oh yeah. So the books. So I've published. This is the version edition 2. So I've taken all the tricks and some of the essays and put them all into a hardcover book. So this is year 2. I have year 1 on the market. There's a few of those left. They're limited editions. I'm working on year 3. So there's 8 years. So we hope to have 8 books in the collection by the time I finish.
Oh, that's great. What's next for Vanish? I mean, you keep building it. I notice you're now doing awards, which is... I see a lot of people giving awards, but most people unjustifiably. But in the case of Vanish magazine, with that level of subscriber base and things, I think you should do awards. And I noticed that's a new thing. Is that something you're going to keep up? Yeah,
absolutely. In fact, we're going to be doing some new ones in a month or so. It's just to recognise people, not necessarily people that have written or been in the magazine. I do look at those, and a variety of awards that you wouldn't normally see, such as writing awards and, you know, things like that. Inspirational magicians. I love inspirational stories. Vanish is all about it. At the end of the day, I want people to read Vanish and be inspired, rather than find out that you've won all these other things, but be inspired, inspire other people. So there's an inspiration award. So we'll continue with those.
It's a wonderful thing that you're doing, Paul. It really is. And I've been an avid
same with you guys. I love what you guys are doing. I think there's so much on my plate. In my mind, I wanted to do something like what you're doing, but it's just I can't do it at all. I'm glad someone else has taken it to that level. You guys have taken what you're doing to another level, so it's great.
You're far too kind. But the thing that surprised me about this show is how much time of the week it takes up. It's incredible. But we have nothing but time. So
well, and it's the same with Vanish. I mean, it's just I'm up early in the morning till late at night putting these things together. It's and it's the same with your show. I know the work that goes into it. All the money that comes in from advertising, or it all goes back into the magazine because it costs me so much. People would be amazed at how much it cost me to keep this thing going. So it's really just a labour of love, and I really do love doing it. And it's also opened up other avenues of getting me into writing and printing and publishing books and things.
Well, I think if I keep this show going, manage to get 100,000 people watching it, then maybe I'll get enough advertising money to buy you, Tommy, and Adam a beer. And I think that might be about the extent of it.
I'll take you up on that.
Paul, thank you so much for joining us today. You know, I'm a huge fan of what you do. We all used to cruise a lot back in the day when there used to be such a thing as cruise ships.
Right.
And hopefully there will be again. But, you know, I loved watching your show. And you know I'm a huge fan of Vanish magazine and everything that you do and what you give back to the art. It's great and something that is going to be around long after you and I have departed. So, Paul, thank you for taking the time today and coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. I love your show, so keep up the great work. Thanks, Jamie.
All right. You're too kind. Thank you, Paul. Bye,
cheers.
Good evening. This week we'll be looking at magicians and how they're coping without their weekly dose of Botox. Let's go live to me to find out more. Thank you, me. It will come as no surprise when I tell you that there are many magicians that routinely have Botox injections in some sort of attempt to defy aging and keep themselves looking younger than their actual years. Unfortunately, during this lockdown period, Botox treatment is not readily available, and for those that do use it, they are now due for a top-up, but they just can't get their hands on it. The effects are horrendous. Here are a few photos of some magicians today. We've had to blur their names to save embarrassment. But don't worry. Here at iMagician Live News Centre, we've come up with some top tips to help you get through this tough time. Have a look. 1. Simply take a paper bag. Cut out 2 eye holes and just wear that bag until you get your next shot of skin tightening juice. 2. Be a little more creative and search through the drawers for a photo of a younger you. The compliments will come flooding in.
God, you're looking well today.
3. And this is my favourite. Get your hands on as many rubber bands as you can and start to place them strategically around your head, holding back each droopy part of your face. No one will have a clue. We hope these top tips will help you out until things get back to normal. Until then, back to me in the studio. Thank you very much, me. Great advice as usual. Until next week, good night.
Now, around the world at the moment, there's this big problem with people trying to get hold of groceries. I want to help. I'm working with technology to try and solve this problem using an application which I've developed, which is called Instant Food. Now, with this application, no social distancing, no 2 meter distance, you can get anything that you want straight away. Check this out. I just hope that you like pineapple. At the moment, it only works with pineapple. I am working out the bugs. But anyway, download Instant Food now. Our next guest was awarded the Ken Dodd Trophy for the Best New Magical Entertainer back in 1998. Since then, he's been awarded the title of British Magical Champion of Comedy and was awarded the Senator Crandall Award for Comedy at the Abbott's Convention in the US. He's received the prestigious Carlton Comedy Award from the Magic Circle, and he's won the Magic Circle's Stage Magician of the Year. He's been a regular on TV, including BAFTA award-winning shows, and he was also the first magician ever to fool Penn and Teller. An incredible career. Please welcome member of the Inner Magic Circle, the fabulous Mr. John Archer. Hi, John.
Hey, how can you? All right. That was very impressive.
I know, it sounds so impressive, doesn't it? Seriously,
It's amazing how good you can make yourself sound if you list all the things you've done over 30 odd years.
Hey,
makes it sound
I
like
got
they
this
all
all off
happened in one
Wikipedia.
go. Yeah,
I know, seriously. You've been around for such a long time. I remember watching you on the British Magical Championships when I was younger, and you always made such a hit. Instantly, I knew that you were going to be a regular, and you've always had a big following amongst magicians, I think. But more importantly, you were the first magician ever to fool Penn and Teller. Now, that show's gone on to global success, but what was that like, being the first magician to fool Penn and Teller?
Well, I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you remember when the show was coming around and everybody was getting the calls, but the show had never happened before, so I don't think people really thought it was possible to fool them. You know, all the talk at the time was, well, you might fool Penn, but you know, Teller's just smart. You'll never fool Teller. And I don't think people realised, you know, that we can all be fooled. You know, when we twist things a different way. So it was amazing because sort of the people who went up, and it was the sort of pilot before the first series that I was on. The people that went on that, you know, never really knew what was going to happen. We were all nervous that it was going to be like the early BGT days where everybody got slated and whatever. We didn't really know, and yet, you know, it turns out, you know, we could fool them, and you know, I fooled them that show, and Ben Earl, obviously, he fooled them as well. And they were lovely to us. So, and I'm not surprised the show's had success. Really, I'm surprised it didn't have success over here. But yeah,
yeah, me too. And Penn made a kind of joke at the time to say, "I can't believe that a guy's fooled us with some envelopes."
Yeah.
But it really was quite a puzzler, you know,
yeah.
And incredibly clean, that trick.
It is clean. And do you know what? I still do it. Well, I don't do it at the moment. I'm sat at home, you know, waiting for the lawn to grow so I can cut it again. But I still do it regularly in my shows. And the tour show that I sort of was halfway through before this pandemic happened, you know, I was opening with that, and it's you know, it's a silly trick. It's not a closer, but it's a lot of fun. And you're right, it is very, very clean. Even when you know what's going on, it just looks so good. You know, when you take the money out at the end. So I was lucky that I had that trick. Sort of, I'd had it for about a year when Penn and Teller, when you know, the company approached me, because I don't think anything else I've got would have fooled them. To be honest, that was the only thing.
A lot of stage magicians, their dream is to perform in Vegas, and part of the prize of that was to open for Penn and Teller's show at the Rio.
Yeah.
And we never really hear a lot about that, so it'd be great to hear from somebody that's actually gone and done it. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was amazing. In the end, we didn't open for them. We closed, which was a bit weird. But I suppose it makes sense because the audience have got to see Penn and Teller, and turning up and suddenly, you know, these two extra guys they don't know might have phased them. And also, I think Penn and Teller want to know that their show is starting with a bang, and it's just too risky to start with two guys who, you know, they weren't sure of. So they did their whole show and then said to the audience, do you know what? We've got two guys who fooled us in the UK. They're going to be performing in a minute. If you need to leave, you can. We've got a few friends who want to come in and watch them, which is basically all of the Vegas magicians. So
what an introduction to say. If you need to leave, you can.
Yeah, but do you know what the good thing is nobody left, because it was like, you know, these two guys fooled you, you know, so it was just like, you know, why would they leave? And it was a bonus. So I suppose a couple of people, maybe if they had another show or something booked, did or whatever, might have gone. But really, it sort of filled up, and there was sort of all these, you know, Matt King wandered in, and Chris Kenner wandered in, all these people wandered in, stood round the sides, and you thought, oh my word, it was fantastic.
That's great.
And also,
Go on.
And the other thing now is sort of the prize seems a bit odd now, because you perform in Las Vegas to fool Penn and Teller, and then if you fool them, you get to perform there again. It's sort of, you know, it's in their thing. It seems like a strange sort of prize now, but I don't think it's ever been about the prize. It's been about the kudos of fooling them. Or, in fact, I don't think it's even about that anymore. It's just about, then, you know, if you go on that show as a magician, you know you're going to be treated well, and you know you're going to have a nice little showreel clip.
Yeah, it's exactly. I did it a couple of years ago, and I knew full well that I wouldn't fool them going on, because I did the iPads trick. But I knew that they also can be very gracious to you. I think if they know that you're there to not fool them as well, they're very kind. I found them absolutely delightful, and I'm huge fans of them. Talking about prizes, talking about all the prizes and stuff, I was reading on your introduction there that, you know, you've probably one of the most decorated comedy magicians in all of history. I mean, you've had so many awards.
Well, I don't know about that. Maybe.
But do any of them stick out to you? I mean, which one means the most?
It's a hard question. I think winning the Magic Circle Stage Magician of the Year felt very good for me, because you know, a lot of times comedy magicians aren't taken seriously as magicians a lot of the time, and that was a stage competition, you know, where I was competing again, you know, great stage performers, and when I won it that year, you know, I felt a little bit like I was recognised on a level playing field with other people. I know it sounds stupid, but sometimes when your career is all about looking stupid, it's quite easy for people to think, well, he doesn't really know much about what he's doing. He just, you know, he's just a funny guy. So that meant a lot, I think, winning that one.
I want to clarify that for everybody at home, because John's exactly right that most comedy magicians, the perception is, and in some cases reality, that they do fairly simple magic. But John's magic has always been paramount. It's been very, very impactful, really, really solid stuff, and he's released so much stuff to the industry, and it's very well respected. So it's a really good point, that. I imagine the awards in the early days must have meant a lot, you know, like the British Magical Championships and things, when you were getting going, because it sort of brought you that recognition.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I ever won, I think, was the Theo Speaker Cup at the IBM, and that was with an act called Archini and Smith with a mate of mine, Mike Smith, and I was still a policeman at the time. I think I left about maybe a year or two afterwards, but that was the first time I'd ever competed in any magic competition, and you know, I'd watched many, and sort of, you know, we don't see a lot of those sort of old magic competitions anymore. They've all sort of faded away, haven't there? A lot of them.
There's not so many acts, John, competing on the stage, though, is there now?
No.
I mean, the industry's moved so much to close up and screens.
Yeah. No, that's true. And you're right. And a lot of the stage stuff now, a lot of guys are doing it with the screens and stuff. I've always struggled a little bit with that, just because of the comedy side of it, just sort of connecting eye to eye with people. Yeah,
I've been working with screens for 2 decades, really, and it took me a long time to work out how to keep people engaged. But it's an important medium.
No, it is, exactly. And if you can do it well, it's brilliant. You do it well, obviously, but you know, it is another branch of performing. You know, it's that, you know, like I say.
Well, it's weird because you have to become your own director whilst you're doing
Yeah.
it. So it's a bit of an odd skill set, but you know, you become accustomed to it after some time. You've been on so many television shows and many series that some of the viewers won't have seen. You know, including one that won a BAFTA award. Was that right?
Do you know what? I've been involved in 2 shows, funnily enough, that have won BAFTA. So I wrote for a show called The Sketch Show on ITV with my mate Tim Vine, and there was Lee Mack, Tim Vine, and a few other people in it. And that won a BAFTA. And then Help My Supply Teacher's Magic, the second series, won a children's BAFTA. Both of which I was involved with and wrote for, but sadly, you know, I don't have a BAFTA on my shelf. It's...
But we've only been talking for like 10 minutes, and already I'm finding multiple awards that aren't on Wikipedia. So if anybody is out there that can edit,
yeah, I should probably go on there and put that up there.
But yeah, for all the TV, I think you're probably most known to the general population for Britain's Got Talent, and I know that we've had a few people on this show that have been involved in that. But yours really stuck out to me because it felt like the first time that we saw the real you. It felt very real, and I think that was a lot of its appeal.
Yeah.
And I just wondered how that was for yourself. I'm going to be talking to Mark about the same thing.
Yeah.
And
Mark. Yeah.
How was it?
He got through the final, swine. No, it was. Do you know what? It was great. I loved it. I sort of went in with an attitude of, you know, challenging myself and, you know, stop running away from it, John. Stop being frightened and just, you know, prove to yourself you can do it. That was all the attitude. But yeah, I did try and. I think a lot of people go on Britain's Got Talent and they make mistakes, you know, just not realising what the show is, and it's as much a reality show as it is a talent show. So you've got to bear that in mind, that the producers want people. They want people at home shouting at the screen, either shouting "you're terrible" or shouting "we love you." But they want them talking to the screen. That's what they want. And if you haven't got a backstory, and I didn't want to go in particularly with a backstory, then you've got to make it human. It's no good going in there with just a brilliant trick, because there's lots of people who go on there with just a brilliant trick, and you can get through with just a brilliant trick, but you really need to make it about you in some way. Either make yourself lovable or likable. I mean, if you're a kid, that's great. You know, you've got it. If you're 90 odd and you're in the army, you've got it. They love you. There's lots of ways you can do it, and I didn't have any of them, so I just had to try and make myself likeable to the judges and to the audience, really, which, you know, hopefully I managed to do. But
you certainly did. I mean, I messaged you right after that show. I was really touched by it. I just felt that you had the balance just right, and whether that was intentional or just in the moment, whatever you did, you did it perfectly. But before we carry on, I want all the viewers at home, if there's anybody out there that hasn't seen you, John, we're going to play a little clip of John in action. Take a look at this, everyone.
So I thought you might want to see a picture of me. That's me then. So I've got one print now, just because obviously you might forget who I am without having a picture behind to reference to. So if you just excuse me a second. I thought I'd start with a little bit of music. I actually learned to play the guitar when I was 5. Not now, no, please. It was actually nearly finished then. I put my father in a liquidizer, now I'm drinking pop. There we are. That's it. So I'm going to do a little card trick now, but it is a card trick with a difference. Quite often when I say that, people gasp. Not very spontaneous. Try it again with a little bit more feeling. A card trick with a difference. You are kind. It's a card trick that uses a deck of cards and some elastic bands. I don't need the elastic bands just yet, but I do need the cards, and I need somebody to check the cards on the audience's behalf. Remind me of your name. Sean, could you just stand up for me? Yeah. Was that your legs that just made that noise then? You actually got legs made out of glass. That's weird. Good evening, Sean! Sean, take the cards. Do me a favour, Sean. Check the cards. Make sure it's not a trick pack of cards. Make sure sure they're not cut into a funny shape. Make sure they're not glued together in one corner. Make sure they don't have Marvin's Magic written on the back. And then when you check them, Sean, I want you to shuffle those cards for me, if you would, please. Shuffle them, mix, mix, mix. But whatever you do, don't change the order of the cards. Kidding! Give me the card, Sean. Sean, turn around and face the audience. Give Sean a huge round of applause. Thank you, Sean. I'm going to play a little game with these elastic bands and cards, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to wrap one around the cards side to side, another elastic band around the cards end to end, thus. That's a Latin word that means thus. And then I'm going to throw the cards into the audience. Whoever catches the cards, I want that person to stand up. The person stands up, prizes open the deck of cards, has a look at one of the cards, remember what that card is, and they throw it onto somebody else. They catch the cards, they look at a card, they throw it onto somebody else. The cards get thrown around the room with people catching them and looking at them until eventually 52 cards have been looked at. So if you can get ready to catch the cards, it's a good idea at this point not to look away. These cards cannot change direction in midair. They're not going to think, oh, she's not looking, I'll move to the left. It won't happen. Deck of cards on the corner of the head. Get ready to catch somebody over there. Catch. Wonderful. Stand up if you would, please, sir. Prize open the deck of cards. Have a look at one card and one card only. Remember that card. Then turn and throw them into somebody in the middle, not too far back. Wonderful. That was your idea of making eye contact, was it? Can you stay stood up? I need you for a police statement shortly. Would you stand up, sir? Excellent. You didn't know this was going to happen, would you? You'd have put a better shirt on than that. Just have a look at a card. and then throw them back over to this side. Anybody at all? Excellent. And would you stay stood up, sir, as well? Would you stand up, madam? Excellent. And just have a look at a card, remember what it is, and then throw the cards back to me. Thanks. Your name is? Tony and? Brian? Pardon? Graham. I'll call you what the heck I like, all right? Pardon? Lauren. I didn't actually ask you, Lauren, but thanks anyway. Okay, just concentrate on your card for me. That's very good. Lauren, concentrate on your card. That's very, very good. Bob, concentrate on your card. Nothing at all. Okay. Any card, any card, any card. Say nothing. Give nothing away. That's good. The King of Hearts, the Two of Spades, and the Six of Diamonds. If I've named your card, would you sit down, please?
John, that was fantastic. Before you go, I've been asking a few people this, that if the pandemic is ended tomorrow, just take that out of the equation. What's next for you? You've achieved so much in your career. What's left for you? What do you want to do?
The truth is, there's nothing really that I desperately have on a bucket list anymore. The Palladium was one, and obviously I got that ticked off through Britain's Got Talent. So really, I just love performing. I just want to carry on work. I don't think I'll ever retire. More than ever, I've realised that I couldn't retire just over the last 2 months. You know, I do miss, whether you call it ego or what it is, but I do miss just being in front of an audience. So I mean, my tour will restart. You know, at the moment it's scheduled to restart September with provisional dates at the beginning of next year if that doesn't happen. I'm also touring again, supporting Tim Vine on a crazy little musical thing where I'm not even doing magic, I'm just doing a singing ukulele playing character called Big Buddy Holly.
John, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we've put a link up below so that people can find out some more about you. But John, thank you so much, and stay safe, and hopefully we'll get to see you in person soon.
Thanks, Jamie. See you soon.
See you soon, John.
Bye-bye.
Our dear friend Pete Matthews is an amazing comedy juggler, and we've all enjoyed his quirky and eccentric tricks over the last few weeks, which he's put together for us. But Jamie, Adam and I were talking, and we really wanted to portray this more serious side of Pete, because he's an incredible technical juggler as well. And so without any further ado, let's go over to Mr. Pete Matthews.
Hi, I'm Pete Matthews, and this is the 7-ball bounce. Jamie, thank you so much for having me on your show. I wish you all the best. I wish you all lots of health and happiness. I'm Pete Matthews. Bye-bye.
I just wanted to take a moment to say that at the end of this week's show, do not turn off. We have got an announcement of who we will have on next week's show. And to say that I'm excited about it would be an understatement, wouldn't it, guys?
Absolutely. It's a very, very exciting.
Yes, it really is. Yeah,
well, you didn't actually tell us either, did you? You didn't tell us just like in one foul swoop. You made it really cryptic through messages.
Yeah, I did. Nat, you know this guy, don't you? Yeah, it's going to be great. And we're going to be telling you who is coming up on next week's show. And I will say it will be the only guest on the show. So do stay tuned. That will be announced at the end of this show. But right now, I think it's time to find out what is this week's bad trick of the week.
Do you want to have a peek at bad trick of the week? Bad trick of the week, bad trick of the week. If it's bad magic that you seek, watch Bad Trick of the Week.
And now we're going over to Adam and the bad trick of the week.
And that is this week's Bad Trick of the Week. And thank you.
And thank you, Adam. What an amazing bad trick of the week that was. Thanks so much indeed.
Do you know, Britain's Got Talent and America's Got Talent has given so many people their big break. And none is more so than our next guest, because this gentleman made a devastating impact on those shows, and he has gone on to worldwide recognition. We are incredibly proud to have him on the show today. Everybody, please welcome to iMagician Live, with a thunderous round of virtual applause, the one and only Mr. Mark Spellman, aka X. Hi, Mark.
How you doing, Jamie? Hang on, I'm just listening to that virtual applause. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. How are you?
We'll dial it down now. Yeah, I'm okay, thanks. More importantly, how are you doing?
Doing really well. Doing really well. Obviously, for everyone, it's the strangest of times. Everyone you've interviewed must have said this, but yeah, the strangest of times. And how things are going to pan out, who knows at this stage, but you just got to keep positive, got to adjust and adapt and see what we can do. I think I think it's going to be an interesting thing, challenging, and but we just have to do our best, I guess.
I know a lot of our viewers are going to be hanging to find out about the Got Talent, because you were on that show 2 years running. Now, you were on in 2018, 2019. Now, obviously 2019 was its whole other story. But just to touch on 2018, you got the Golden Buzzer, which I think was probably the first time any kind of magic-related act, certainly that I'd seen, won that. But more importantly, you created such a devastating emotional impact with the whole country. They all fell in love with you. And to do that, you had to leave a huge part of yourself on the stage, which is probably something as performers we're not used to. And I just wanted to talk to you about that. What was that moment like? Do you even remember it?
It's absolutely surreal. So I remember in 2016, 2015, I thought I'm going to audition for the 2016 Britain's Got Talent. And for those that don't know, my wife had some health issues and some battles, and we were trying for a baby. And
but she's okay now.
She's good.
She?
Absolutely. She's an absolute warrior. She really is. But so originally, I was going to speak to Russ Stevens, who we all know and love. He's like, knows everything there is to know about BGT. And I was going to say to him, look, I want to go on 2016 and do some mind reading, do some really amazing mind reading. And I was going to go just as myself, just as Mark Spellman, the corporate mind reader, and try and dream up something original and different. And then in end of 2015 was when my daughter was born, but my wife was battling cancer at the time, and it changed every aspect. I stopped performing for 2 years, and just had to be the supportive husband and the father to my newly born Isabella, and then I kind of stopped performing completely for corporates, everything, just living off savings and that kind of thing. And then I said to Tessa was clear of cancer, and she said to me, Mark, you know, like, when are you going to jump back in, you know? And I said, you know what, I'm going to jump back in, but I want to show what real magic is, not the theatrical side of magic, not the illusions, the close-up, the clever sleight of hand and the optical secrets, but more so that there is real magic in the world, and that it's beyond trickery and illusions. Those things are amazing and clever and astonishing and entertaining, but there is real magic, and it's in the simplest of things. It's in the people that we love dearly, you know. And I think having Tessa go through what she went through, and having Isabella come to the board, and the whole battle, the whole challenge of it all, changed me as a human being, and I came out the other side of it. I like to think a better human being than I was before. A lot less, you know, career driven and that kind of thing, which ironically now my career is doing really well, which is like bizarre, but
yeah.
But so that was it.
You've always been one of the nicest guys in show business, Mark. I mean, everybody that knows you will attest to this.
That's very, very kind of you. So and
it's nice to see that with your success, you still hold on to that. So I just wanted to say that to viewers. Mark is literally the nicest guy in the business.
Thank you. That's really sweet of you. I really appreciate that. So I said to Russ...
Well, you would say that. You're the nicest guy in the
business. So then I got in contact with Russ, and I said, look, Russ, I really want to do BGT. I'm ready to jump back in, you know, but things are different for me now. And Russ said to me, what do you want to do? And I sent him just the end video. It was a really rough cut. For those that don't know, I sort of do lots of editing and that kind of thing. And I edited this rough cut of the story wrapped up, the red crayon, and all of those things are true. You know, the red crayon, the puppet penguin, and all those elements of the things. I was literally watching Isabella over a 2-year period, literally. And so she formed the trick, you know, really, the routine, the elements of it. And Russ looked at it, and we were talking on the phone, and Russ said, look, I'll show the producers, and listen, if this is what you want to do, then, you know, like, yeah, it'd be amazing.
You obviously went straight through with the Golden Buzzer to the live shows, and I know that journey that year didn't end as far as you wanted it to. So you went back, and in order to go back, you created a new character. I mean, I don't believe this has ever been done, anything like it, in Got Talent, but you came back as a character, as a man behind a mask, as X, which kept the whole country on tenterhooks, which is just incredible. You know, the journey, certainly the most incredible moment I've seen in BGT history, no doubt.
Thank you.
But, you know, you came onto that show as this mystery figure, but surely somebody knew. I mean, give us some insight here, Mark. Okay. What was the backstory to that?
So first of all, why X and how X? When I got the Golden Buzzer there, you're right, I fell at the semi-finals, and the acts that night were just better. They were better. I wasn't as strong as my audition, and they deserved to go through, and that's just the way it is in life sometimes. But I had hidden elements, you know, in the final that I was dreaming of. I was going to reveal this whole thing about hope and never giving up. And obviously not making the final, I couldn't do it. And I came back home, and I remember I was bitterly disappointed, because you know what it's like. It's like writing three parts of a film, you know, a trilogy, and the production at the last minute say, oh, you can't do the last one. You kind of go, what? You know, you really want to do that last one. And I couldn't do it. So I just got on with normal life and being a father and getting back into performing again, just as me. And then one night I just thought to myself, that can't be it. That can't be that one moment that I had. There's got to be a way that I can finish the story. And in 2011, I created a character called Prank, who was a faceless magician. And I've always loved Banksy, because illustration, art background, I've always loved that Banksy. And I love that notion of never knowing who he is and what he is, and, you know, that kind of thing, hidden identity. And I thought, God, wouldn't it be great if there was a magician like that? You know, not like the masked magician, because we all know what we think about the masked magician. He was hiding his identity for different reasons. And then I just thought to myself, you know, like maybe, and I pulled out this old sort of Photoshop thing that I'd done of Prank as a TV pitch back in 2011. and it was a hoodie with a white mask, and I thought, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. And one of the things that you get criticised for sometimes when you do leave yourself on the stage with a story, like what for the Golden Buzzer, you know, the story of Tessa and Isabella, some people go, oh, you know, did the sob story get him through? And that was, and I always think to myself, I don't like the word sob story. I think people have stories. Life is life. But by becoming X, I thought, well, one, that kind of gets me in. I'm not relying on my sort of small fan base from before. I'm going in anonymous. Equally, I don't have a backstory, so that if I do well, the whole notion of, well, he only got through because of his story, well, X didn't have one, so I could kind of quash that theory as well. And in answer to your question, no one knew apart from a very mutually good friend of ours, and that is Russ Stevens. I spoke to Russ about it. Russ fell in love with it. He said it was going to be nigh impossible to do this. And I said, look, we make the impossible possible. That's what we do for a living. So let's just do this. And Russ managed to open up certain doors and kind of eliminate certain things that I would have to deal with normally if I was just going through the regular audition process.
I mean, literally open up certain doors. I mean, you had to get in and out of that building every day, and it's not like you can just pass by and nobody notice you. You've been on the show the previous years, so you're well known to the crew and everybody else. So, I mean, let's just start with that. Just at ground zero, how on earth did you get to the audition and get backstage? Were you wearing the mask the entire time?
Okay, yeah, literally, yeah. So basically what happened was, Spellman is a stage name. A lot of people do know that. But, so my real name is not, so legal forms and things like that, whenever I fill anything out, it's not Spellman. So I could apply again. No one on BGT would ever remember my real name. They would now only know me as Mark Spellman, because obviously that's the name that gets sort of touted about. That's the name that you perform under. So there was that element. So that was covered. I had to send in photographic ID. So all I did was I put my passport on the photocopy machine, and I did the contrast right down, really dodgy, and no one ever looks like their passport photograph anyway, you know. So that slipped through the net and just got, yeah, great. And then Russ was able, there are two ways when you do BGT. Sometimes you get shortlisted, you kind of avoid some of the earlier sort of filtering process of BGT.
And Russ was able to push you through that?
Absolutely. So I wrote up the routine with Ant and Dec, and I really did the routine, one, because I wanted to talk about us as humans and connection. That was really important for me. But also as well, it was a little bit of a tip of the hat. They gave me the Golden Buzzer the year before. And I know that sort of Ant had gone through, you know, some problems that everyone knows about and stuff. And I thought, you know, like, I just wanted to kind of celebrate their connection and create a routine around them. Because X is just a faceless, you know, it wasn't even my voice. It's not my voice there at all. It's a female voice.
How did you even exist backstage as X?
In the mask.
Did you have like your own dressing room, or did you just sit around for hours on end in this head?
The audition in Manchester, Russ said to me, whatever you do, when you go for the audition in Manchester, because we thought audition in Manchester, not London, because I know a lot of London magicians, I know most magicians anyway, but you just didn't want to be around too much, you know. I had a chaperone with me, a friend called Colin, who also wore a disguise, because he's also a magician, and magicians are clever, you know, they'll go, hang on, Colin, guy in a mask, it's got to be Mark Spellman. So he had to wear a disguise as well, just hat and glasses, and it was madness. It was brilliant. I will release it. I've got footage backstage and everything else that I will release one day on YouTube or something. But literally in Manchester at the Lowry, it was a case of slipping through, going through the door as X, showing my form. Russ sorted out my photo ID, getting in and everything else. So all of those elements were fine. And what would happen was Colin would be the person that if anyone came up to X, they would say, you know, oh, where do you need your props? We need you to do a run through of your act. And Colin would step in and say, he knew the act. He knew, I rehearsed it with him hundreds of times. And Colin would step in and say, no, if you want to talk about anything technical minded, you talk to me.
Even the small points of turning up at the venue, thinking, well, now we've got paparazzi involved, there's media interest. So now, even your arrival, you can't turn up as Mark in the car. I mean, do you have to put some other disguise on?
Yeah, no, absolutely. All valid points and valid questions. And really simply, whilst on set, I was X the whole time. the whole way through, I had the mask on the whole time. And when we were arriving, obviously you've got to remember, when X auditioned, I was just another kind of slightly weird act that no one really...
Yeah, so not so much attention then, but at this point...
Semi-finals.
A lot of media interest.
Yes, semi-finals. But I was a media nightmare. You got to remember. So when I was Mark Spellman the year before, there was like interviews and stories and tell us about your battle and your wife, and so endless interviews. X was a little bit... It was a polar opposite experience as X, and I loved both of them for different reasons. But as X, no one could interview me, so I did no interviews. There was no media interest in who I was really at that point. Only after I did the semi-final that people started going, okay, this X guy's just won the semi-final. This could be a serious thing. But what we would do is, as we were driving, we went in Colin's car, not my car, just in case they wanted to look up registration numbers. And a mile before we would get to the Hammersmith Apollo, we would pull over, I'd put a baseball cap on, glasses, and I'd have a hoodie on as well. And that's kind of how we would drive closer. Once we were in earshot of the Hammersmith Apollo, I'd put the X mask on. I was always in the outfit in the car. And the X mask would go on at the very last minute because it did get hot underneath that mask.
The greatest moment as well in BGT history, in my humble opinion, when you took the mask off, the reaction was unprecedented. The audience would not stop cheering and applauding to allow you to speak. You can see, if you watch the video back, you just not knowing at which point is it okay for me to cut off this applause. It goes against every fibre of our being, doesn't it, as an entertainer, to stop the audience, because they want to give it.
But you know what?
How long would that have gone on?
But you know what, though? Here's the interesting thing about that, and this is something that you wouldn't know unless you were there. Part of the audio, when you watch it on YouTube, they've cut part of the audio, because when they cut to that reveal video with all the callback to the word hope and everything else, that I edited that, literally 2 o'clock in the morning the night before to get the final one done. And when I went into the final, the only people at that point, you had Russ that knew and Colin that knew, but now the VT people knew because they had to check the file. But they had to sign a non-disclosure. So even on the night of the final, in the rehearsals, they would only play the video up to the part where Anne says to Dec, can you imagine if it was someone we knew? And it would just cut, and they would just go, that's the end of the rehearsal, thank you, X, you can leave the stage. Because they knew that they didn't want anything leaking out before the show went live that night. And when I took the mask off, it's really weird. When I did, in 2018, when I did the video of Isabella and Tessa, you got to remember, as I had only ever watched that video on my computer, on my screen, on my own, and Tessa had seen it as well, When you're watching it at the London Palladium, it's a whole different thing. So that emotion in the first audition in 2018 is absolutely genuine. I just didn't realise a whole theatre of people feeling the emotion of your story just brings it all back again, It's like, it's the weirdest thing. And something you can't rehearse that. That just is what it is. It's a moment that kind of catches up with you. Same thing with taking the mask off. After I failed to get into the final the year before, I was really gutted. I was like, God, I've put all these hidden messages in there. So when I took that mask off, it wasn't that I couldn't speak because of the audience. There was, I would say, about sort of 15 seconds where I physically couldn't speak. It was like I had a permanent lump in my throat, because it was like opening up doors, your patio doors, to a hurricane coming in. The roar in the audience was epic. It's one of my most proudest. It's going to be so hard for me to top that. And if tomorrow I
think to a degree you have to accept that's you can't top that.
No,
you can't. But you use that as the final building block in a career that will now go on and on and on.
Absolutely. And what an honour to have a moment like that. For me, I look back at it and I just think what an absolute honour it was to be in that moment. And to have that, and and if that is the pinnacle of my career, I'll take it.
It was just incredible. I mean, and it will go down in history. I think, Mark, seriously, as one of the greatest moments in the Got Talent franchise forever. Mark, Mark. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Jamie. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, you're just cutting out. Mark? Hello?
I'm sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service
at this time. Tommy, do we have him? Thank you so much, Mark Spellman. That was a joy. Isn't that fascinating? Guys, didn't you think that was fascinating, listening to Mark talk about all the stuff with the mask?
It was absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yeah. Really enjoyed it.
Amazing. Goosebumps. I love watching it on TV, and to have him on the show was just fantastic. Brilliant stuff.
Truly
Thanks, Mark.
jaw-dropping moment, you know. But it's almost time for us to go. Almost time for us to go here from show 6. Thank you for the love. I'm going to ask you all a favour. I know I say this every week, but please, if you haven't already and you're watching this show, please like our page, follow our page, and please share this feed with your friends if you think that they would like it. It helps us out a lot. We want to get word out because soon we are going to be announcing in a moment who our guest is next week, and we are very, very excited about it. So for now, though, it is goodbye from all of our friends. It's goodbye from Mr. Tommy Bond. Goodbye, Tommy.
Goodbye, everyone. See you next week.
Absolutely. And Mr. Adam Heppenstall. Adam.
Goodbye, guys. See you next week.
Yeah, see you next week. And from Nat. Yeah, and from me as well. Do us a favour, look up Natalia Love, look up Pete Matthews, look up Adam Heppenstall, and look up Tommy Bond, all of my friends that are on social media. Give them a follow as well. Show us some love, everyone. Do it for us. You know you want to. And now it's time to tell you what is coming up next week on iMagician Live. Take a look at this. Coming up next week on iMagician Live, we will be joined by legendary illusionist Hans Klock. Get ready for the world's fastest magician, Hans Klock, on iMagician Live. Direct from Las Vegas, Hans will be joining us on iMagician Live. See it on Facebook, 7 p.m. GMT, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and 11 a.m. Pacific Time. To watch the show on May 15th, simply search Facebook for Jamie Allan iMagician. Join our page and we'll see you May 15th. Fasten your safety belts and get ready for the world's fastest magician, Hans Klock, on iMagician Live.